agricultural industry, that there's sort of like a renaissance going on.
The Maryland couple is one of thousands of Americans just starting out in farming.
It's a lot of work. It's definitely a lot of work. There's always something to do. There's always something to do.
Enjoy the new surroundings.
It's a career change they see as a personal approach to life and the land.
We're trying to grow as many different things as we eat here on the farm, but we do it not just for ourselves, we do it for our surrounding community.
Ted's experience as a farmer was limited. He worked for a time on a farm in Montana. But the opportunity to farm his family land got him thinking.
I moved back to Maryland from Montana. The farm was here, and I decided that it was a place that I would want to live. And then once I moved here, after living here, I decided that it was a place that I wanted to work and farm.
The Wycalls decided on organic farming as their first venture. 80 acres were readied for crops, and the couple incorporated an additional 40 acres of timber. It's a model of sustainability, often referred to as agricultural renaissance.
That's kind of like the model that when, well, it's all over the world, really, but it's kind of, I would say, what's considered like peasant farming.
The Wycalls' first crops were vegetables.
This is one of 4 generations of our fall planting of broccoli and cabbage.
They soon added livestock, rotating cattle, pigs, chickens, and goats from their pasture to the woods.
We'll take an area of the forest, open it up, cut some trees, sunlight comes in, vegetation starts to grow, and then we put the goats in there, and they kind of hit a lot of the saplings, and then we put the pigs in there, and they do what they do, and then what ends up happening is that you have a really strong regrowth of oak saplings, and certain trees that can withstand the impact from the animals.
As the animals graze, manure adds nutrients to the soil.
What I'm kind of striving to do is to have a closed loop system where it'll be completely self-contained little, feedback cycle here.
Like her husband, Julia was new to farming, but her background did include food preparation and presentation.
So I'm able to bring that to the farming, to like the markets and speaking with my customers about, oh, how do you cook this? Now I have a much greater appreciation for what is really good food and, how does it grow.
Beans are on the harvest schedule this summer afternoon.
Any of those are fine. Any varieties.
The Wycalls' crops make their way to farmers markets and local restaurants. They've also established a CSA, Community-Supported Agriculture, where customers buy a share of the produce being raised. A small number of employees work the Wycall farm. Each crop brings new lessons in getting more from the earth and provides new recruits for a future in farming.
We have farmers that are 59, 60 years old, I think is the average age, and they have no one ready to take over their farms. And the only way that's going to turn around is if young people who are interested in it decide that it really is a possibility, it really is an option to come out and farm for a living.
The opportunity to realize a personal dream is part of the attraction on this and other small farms, planting the seeds for the future, one row at a time.
It's really exciting to be part of that, to be part of this national, if not even worldwide, kind of realization of just how productive and sustainable small farms can be, and to be a young farmer just getting started when this whole movement is just getting started.
About a third of Maryland's land is used for farming. Apples and peaches are popular picks, and much of the crop is shipped up and down the eastern seaboard. You'll find lots of members of the equine family in the Old Line State. Maryland's Department of Agriculture claims more horses per square mile than any other state in the nation.
Hi, I'm Paul Robbins, and here's something you may not have known about agriculture. Celery is one of those items in the produce department that really gets very little respect. It's not as flashy as a tomato, and frankly, it's just a little bit bland. But let me give you a little history on these stalks that might just change your mind. Most folks use celery in a salad, stir a Bloody Mary with it, or just have fun making that crunching sound when they eat it. But the ancient Greeks and Romans considered celery to have medicinal properties, and the French and Italians used it in love potions in the 17th century. Celery came to America in the 1850s, and by the turn of the 20th century, the Sears Roebuck catalog was offering a nerve tonic made from celery. California and Florida grow the lion's share of celery in the U.S., and the average American eats about 10 pounds of celery a year. That's a lot of stalks. Back to those medicinal properties. Celery is rich in B vitamins and high in vitamin C, and there's a royal tie to these green stalks. When they opened the tomb of King Tut in Egypt, they found a shroud adorned with garlands of wild celery, some vitamins for the afterlife.
It's something farmers know all too well. If you're going to work with the land, you're going to get your hands dirty. Now, not generally said about gourmet chefs, but Alabama chef Chris Hastings knows all about getting his hands dirty down on the farm. He's connecting farmers and food lovers one delicious dish at a time. Think of Chef Chris Hastings like a doctor making house calls. Today he's visiting the Jones Valley Urban Farm.
Morning, Edwin. How you feeling, buddy?
Doing good. How about you?
Great.
In the heart of Birmingham, Alabama, this agricultural enterprise uses vacant land to grow 80 different types of fruits and vegetables. Today, Executive Director Edwin Marty shares some of his baby arugula with Chris.
Yeah, this was sort of just an experiment that we threw together this winter.
Chris buys produce from Valley Urban Farm, which in turn uses it for educational programs about food and farming for city kids.
So his continued support, buying from us week after week after week throughout the entire history of Jones Valley Farm, has made it possible basically for us to continue to grow, for us to continue to have income, to turn that over to our education programs.
Using locally grown produce when he can is part of Chris Hastings' culinary philosophy. Chris says it allows him to create tastier, seasonal dishes.
You get to taste the food there on the spot. You get to know about their history and whom they are. And it's just important to get to know those people.
And there's also a social benefit. Dollars stay right here in the local economy, helping out farmers like Arlie Powell at Chris's next stop, Petals of the Past Nursery.
Hey, Mr. Powell.
Good morning.
Today, Arlie is harvesting grapes.
And when this one gets this color, you can take that fruit, twist it one way, twist it the other, and it'll snap loose.
How about that? Look at that.
And you don't break the skin.
Providing local restaurants with fresh fruit in the spring and summer helps this nursery have a stable year-round income.
Restaurants are not going to take humongous amounts of fruit on any given day because of the demands of the restaurant, what they need. But when you supply them fresh fruit, and you can do it twice a week, and you have several restaurants involved, then you reach a point where it's monetarily of advantage for you to do that. Plus, the people who eat in the restaurants see our name many times on some of the menus, and they inquire as to where the fruit came from. And we have any number of visitors that have been to Chris's restaurant that come to our place as a result of that.
Chris Hastings is the owner and chef at Hot and Hot Fish Club in Birmingham. He's been serving up a seasonal menu here since the restaurant opened in 1995. Of course, not everything served here is grown locally. That would be too limiting. But he maintains relationships with around 200 farmers in the southeast U.S. to buy as close to Birmingham as possible.
We're kind of in between two seasons. We're leaving summer and we're coming into fall. So we're living in both worlds. We'll take the arugula from Jones Valley, combine it with the persimmons from Petals from the Past to make a light salad.
Hastings shares his culinary philosophy beyond the walls of this restaurant. You can also find him hosting tours for foodie tourists along Florida's so-called Forgotten Coast in the Panhandle region. Guests get to spend the week harvesting clams, oysters, and fresh produce